Hey everyone, happy, was it Wednesday today? I think it's Wednesday, yeah. Um, Maybe, or is it Thursday? I don't know. I'm losing track of the days. I hope everybody is having a great week. There are three things I wanted to talk about today. I'll start with the first one, which is flock cameras. And kind of the dialogue going on regarding these cameras around major cities. Now, there's some good things about these cameras. There's some bad things. I'll start with the bad things. I think, the general kind of view of these cameras is that it's creating a surveillance state. I think there's a good argument for that. Cameras that are tracking, essentially, are getting information from vehicles based on license plates and also other descriptors of the car. Say you've got stickers on it and a particular color and the general make and model. All of this stuff is being tracked, which I think, keeping a database on that of just generally tracking every citizen, not always the best thing. But I'll also look at it from the perspective of, how do you reduce crime, right? And again, I'm not a proponent of cameras, but I do see the utility. In places like New York, like in Virginia, we really didn't have them in many places. If you're in in the suburbs of Virginia, you don't see cameras out a lot that, from the local government, let's say Loudoun County, Leesburg, to a certain extent, and in these other places. But where you will see them is Arlington, more densely packed areas. So Arlington, Alexandria, you will see them a little bit in downtown Leesburg by the courthouse. And they're starting to pop up more and more within Tyson's Corner, which is becoming significantly more dense. And I will say I see them here in Raleigh and Durham. I'm not going to say I see flock cameras specifically, but I just see cameras. Now in the suburbs, there is cameras on houses. Everybody's got cameras on the outside of their house. And the cameras are there to do two things. One is to deter people from breaking in the house, knowing that they're going to be captured in a camera. And the other is to monitor packages and people coming over to their house. I have a Ring camera, a Ring door camera. I have cameras on the outside of my house. I'm not going to say exactly where, but just like everybody else in the neighborhood, there is a utility in having cameras, and there's a reason to have them, and it's to increase safety. Now, if you look at why getting tag information is important, well, a couple reasons. If somebody has a warrant out for their arrest, and they have a car that's registered under their name, it's a lot easier for the police to find the individual driving around in their car. And so it's much easier to grab someone generally at a traffic stop with a good police presence than it is to show up at their house where they might have time to prepare and other things. And so from that perspective, I get it. You also have criminals that steal tags off of cars and put them on other cars. And so Flock will be able to look at that, go, hey, this car with this description doesn't match the tag that's on it, and the make and model doesn't match either. And so maybe those tags are stolen, maybe somebody's trying to do something illegal. Generally speaking, if tags are on a car that shouldn't be, generally that person is committing a crime. It's also from the perspective of being able to backtrace the movements of an individual. Let's say in the case of, I'm not going to say this happened, but Tyler Robinson, for instance, right? It's quite possible that a case like Tyler Robinson, where you have cameras on campus, you have the vehicle in which he drove there. You're able to backtrace that vehicle essentially almost, or if not all the way to where it originated from. Um, you can do the same thing with Flock. And so that vehicle can be tracked throughout the city in which a crime has been committed. They're able to backtrace it. It's kind of like when you watch movies and they're like, they have all this great technology from satellites and they're like, all right, go back 30 minutes. Where was this vehicle then? Like backtrace it from that standpoint. Wow. At the time when those movies came out, I was like, oh, that's not possible. Now I'm like, oh, that's probably definitely possible. But you can get even more granular by cross-referencing it with video cameras and video on the ground to actually trace that individual or individuals that may or may not have committed a crime. And so I look at it from that perspective and I'm like, yeah, I get it. I definitely get it. I think at this point, like, you have to weigh the benefits against the negatives when it comes to data privacy and kind of that intrusion and look at what the ultimate goal is. I would say that Republicans and Democrats are interested in getting this into their cities so that they can help solve crimes. I mean, that's really it. Can prevent crimes up front by arresting people that are driving stolen cars or have stolen tags and put them on another car, or have committed a crime and are, they need to find the individual and where they went, by being able to backtrace it. And so I find all of that very compelling. I find it less compelling on companies grabbing this data because it's already being grabbed. And this is kind of the point that I'm getting at, which is there are cameras everywhere already capturing literally everything. And the outrage could be around that these cameras are, doing things that people don't like. Well, those things are already being done with the cameras that are in place. If you're in New York City, all of those cameras feed into the NYPD. And so the ones that are working, let's say the subway, not so great for working cameras. But the idea is that the cameras are there. They all feed back to a central NOC within New York City. And NYPD is able to quickly determine where a person went. And you actually saw this in real time with the shooting of the CEO in Midtown. It was very easy for them to be able to track the individual, their movements throughout the city, and ultimately when they left the city, and then, then look at cameras that are on highways and kind of backtrace the movements of that individual. That wasn't with Flock. That was just with the cameras that are already available. And the cameras that are in the city already have the ability to pick up license plates. Police and tow trucks already drive around with license plate readers on them already to determine whether or not there's a warrant out for your car. Within New York City, it's like, do you have unpaid tickets? They will boot your car. Now they use that window thing a lot of the time, but nonetheless, that's license plate readers that are on vehicles that already drive around the city, collecting that information and scanning every car that's parked on the side of the road. So, like, again, I have a hard time with a lot of the arguments coming out in regards to Flock, but we'll see how it ends up. Like, would I be concerned if there were Flock cameras on the main street outside of my house? No, not at all. If I was committing crimes, if my tags were dead and I was driving around on on an expired license, or I lost my license or something like that, yeah, I might be concerned. But generally speaking, I'm not concerned. Now, next thing I wanted to talk about was Truth Social's release of their real-time data feed to financial institutions. On the surface, people are going to be like, oh my God, like they're giving an advantage for trading to certain individuals over others. I worked in social media analytics. this information has been around for a long time. Twitter, then when I was working in social media analytics, had what they called the fire hose. And so they had enterprise access to the fire hose, and entire applications were built around taking in the complete fire hose of Twitter and giving it access in their platform. And then within the platform, you would then determine which accounts you wanted to follow, and ultimately it was like you could pick out the accounts. You could say, hey, I'm actually looking to track these mentions or this kind of conversation. And all that stuff was available, and it was real time. So these applications where it was feeding in Twitter at the time and feeding Instagram, feeding in Snapchat, feeding in Facebook, all that was available, and financial institutions were already leveraging it because they wanted access to what specific people were saying so that they can make predictive trades off of that. Truth didn't have an API that was publicly available for purchase. And so instead of making the API available to everyone, they've said, hey, we want to actually give traders the opportunity to get this information again, which is already available through other platforms. And so the only reason that you'd want to specifically have access to Truth, because it has what the president says first. He posts on there, and then it is reposted across all social media via other accounts. There are accounts that specifically look for Truth Social posts actively to scrape the site. They scrape it, they then copy it, and then post it, they repost it on X, and it comes out within a matter of seconds from the time that Trump actually makes the posts on Truth Social. So this information is already available. The only reason they're saying it's faster is because people are leveraging scraping tools to scrape truth versus having a direct feed like they have with Twitter or now X and other social media sites. And so is Truth doing anything different than any other social media site? No, they are not. Are they marketing it differently? Yes, they are. But what they will end up doing over time is ultimately end up opening up that API and their own fire hose to then be able to be accessible by these other social media analytics platforms that are already being used by traders and by companies to track conversations and trending stories. Again, I'm not surprised that Truth came out and did this, but is it something that any other company is not already doing? No. Is it marketed slightly differently? Yes. But again, I think they're going to gauge the response on this to see how many people they can gather, and then they may actually end up having a separate feed that is more publicly accessible at a cost to the social media analytics tools that are out there. And so a lot to do about nothing. It's more about like, oh my God, the Trump family is making money off of Truth. Truth Social is a social media site that works the same way as every other social media site that makes money off the data within. They do it through advertising and then selling data feeds. That's how these sites exist. So we can kind of move on. The last thing I wanted to talk about was DSA versus the Dems, so the Democrats. And I think what I'm noticing is that a lot of Democrats now are starting to realize, I talked about this yesterday, and I may have mentioned it in another video, but many Democrats are starting to realize that the DSA is a problem for the sustainability of Democrats at a national level. From a local level, DSA can win elections, and they're going to win probably elections in major cities. I talked about this before. The problems within cities are completely disconnected from the problems and realities within the suburbs and within rural America. And so Democrats that are in the suburbs and rural America are starting to see, or they're starting to hear, I should say, they're starting to hear more from these DSA candidates, and they're not liking what they're hearing. And they're starting to talk, which is then the traditional Democrats that are out there are also starting to talk. And you're also starting to see this kind of subtle walk back that's happening with like support for people like Hassan Piker, which, by the way, like, and again, I talked about this before, you will not find devout racists that are supported by mainstream Republicans. It just does not happen. And people can say like, oh, like Nick Fuentes or whatever. Nick Fuentes is not going out on streams, on the same streams as elected Republicans to have a conversation. Elected Republicans have zero interest in being associated with people like Nick Fuentes. But interestingly enough, Democrats, being an open party, have allowed people to take up the Democrat mantle while not carrying any of the policy similarities to Democrats. They're essentially hijacking the party, similar to the way that MAGA did. But again, MAGA's focus was not on dismantling America. It was almost exclusively focused on America, hence the hat. You don't hear Democrats or specifically DSA members saying America is great and people should immigrate here. They think that the entire structure should be dismantled, and that communism, they're saying socialism, but communism, as in the way that they're describing socialism, should take over. And we've seen how that works out everywhere. But back to the point, Democrats have allowed this to kind of infest their party. It started before 2016, and it's led by highly educated individuals who made really bad career choices and really bad financial decisions. And these people have been indoctrinated throughout their entire upbringing and ultimately into college on capitalism is bad, socialism is great, communism didn't work, but it could work in these circumstances. The other people who did communism just didn't communism hard enough, or socialism hard enough. And so you have all of these people coming out thinking that the only way that they can get ahead is to it has to be supported by government mandate. They don't believe that wealthy people should exist, the wealthy people that create jobs, in which they may or may not have, and that and they haven't really put together that if you want to, like, in order to move up from lower class to middle class, that means that you increase your skills and you work hard and you move up into that rank because you have skills that are desirable to a larger population of people. And then if you're in the middle class, you work hard to ultimately move up to the upper middle class or the upper class. And that's through hard work and effort and a lot of saving and a lot of tough decisions along the way. But many people do it. But Democrats believe, or I should say DSA specifically, believes that you shouldn't have that opportunity, which is absurd. There's no other way that you're going to bring people out of poverty with government programs. I mean, we can obviously see that government programs tend to trap people because once you make over a certain amount of money, you're cast out of that democratic program, or that I should say that government-sponsored program. You see this with low-income housing. You see it with food stamps. You see it with various other things, Medicare, Medicaid. And so Democrats need to find a way to, I would say, exercise the DSA from their party, because as many Democrats are coming out and saying now, Democrats won't exist on a national level if DSA takes over. And right now, people are like, oh my God, like AOC is, the leader over Gavin Newsom for the 2028 election. If you want to run AOC against a Marco Rubio or a JD Vance, I think everybody knows how that would go on the debate stage. Like, it's comical. It's comical. And again, the longer that Democrats choose not to do anything about the DSA, the worse it's going to get. And they may look at these victories within, say, Michigan or Detroit, or cities within Michigan and Detroit and New York City, DC, some places in Colorado. Like, you can look to those as wins, but ultimately what's going to end up happening is the policies are going to become more and more radical, or the existing policies within the DSA are going to start to become mainstream policies that the Democrats are offering. And again, when regular people see that, they recoil. They do not want any part of that. They do not want open borders. They do not want to disband ICE. They do not want to disband border control. They do not want to get rid of police in lieu of safety officers. They do not want to, get rid of people that are creating jobs. These are the millionaires and the billionaires, or the people with hundreds of thousands of dollars that are starting new businesses. They have no interest in doing that stuff. And so the more that Democrats, DSA candidates win, the more that the Democratic Party is going to lose. And it's going to become obvious. And I say this as someone who, was a Democrat in the past, now is a Republican. Like, in order for the system that we have here to function well, we need smart people on both sides. We need smart people, smart Republicans with smart policy options and kind of things that they're putting on the table. And we need smart Democrats that are countering, that are creating some balance to what Republicans are offering. Right now, what we have is a by any means necessary Democrat Party, which would rather spend its time trying to completely demonize one side of the aisle and an entire group of people, including people like myself, who would pursue, rather pursue lawfare than winning things the right way by changing hearts and minds, and aren't really putting forward smart policy options. I mean, the internet exists. Like, we can all go back to Joe Biden's term, 2020 to 2024, where open borders streamed in and ultimately created the third rise of Trump as both the nominee and the winner of the election. That was because people recoiled at those policies. And so, I just hope that, Democrats get it together and force these people to run under their own platform. Because right now they're hijacking your infrastructure, Democrats, I'm talking to you. They're hijacking your infrastructure to spread their ultimately toxic message, which is going to lose you elections in the very near future. But on that note, I hope everybody has a great week. And as always, let me know what you think in the comments section below. And keep believing that the best is still ahead for America. Peace out.